Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the missing persons case of Janine Vaughn. She was a 31-year-old woman who vanished in December of 2001 and has just never been seen again. There is not very much information on this case, so you know, we're just trying everything that we can to get the word out for all these people that are missing, and just to, I don't know, raise awareness. Maybe somebody knows something out there that they didn't really think they knew before. You know, just anything to try and get these poor people home, or you know, if something horrible has happened to them, just to get whoever did it and bring justice, and possibly bring them home one way or another, if you understand what I mean. This case was suggested by Bruce, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have, and of course if you have any more, please do let me know. Janine Mary Vaughn was born on the 7th of December in 1970. And from a young age, she was actually adopted by her grandparents on her father's side, but eventually did get to know her father, Ian. He, at that point, had a new wife called Jenny, and they did end up having 3 kids together, Rodney, Kylie, and Adam. Now, Janine did live with and was raised by her grandparents, but she also split her time with her father and his family, and, well, her family, because obviously they were like her half brothers and sisters, and she loved getting to know them and spend time with them. So I believe she spent 3 or 4 sort of days a week there, and they all ended up becoming really close. Janine, being the eldest, would often do model shows and things like that when they were kids, and do their hair and makeup, and she just enjoyed spending time with her brothers and sisters. It was something that she hadn't had before, so she loved it. She went to South Muswell Brook Primary School and then to Stone High School, and she was very good at sports, at one stage even becoming a school captain. She did well in school, she had lots of friends and was quite popular. She also loved playing ball games such as basketball and netball. She ended up taking calligraphy classes and ended up designing these signs at a retail shop that she worked at as an adult. She was just such a loving woman with a huge heart and would do anything for anyone. So in 1998, Janine decides that she's going to move to Bradhurst with her boyfriend. At the time, he was an electrician, and they just saw this as their new beginning. She liked to have fun, socialise, and spend, you know, a lot of time with other people. But after living there for 3 years, unfortunately their relationship ended up deteriorating, and they did end up splitting up. And then that inclined her to spend even more time out socialising and having fun, because people tend to do that after breakups, you know. They go out, they get drinks, they spend it with their friends, just because why not? So on the 7th of December in 2001, Janine gone out drinking with her 2 friends, Jordan and Juanita. They went to a bar named the Bradhurst Metro Tavern, which actually had the nickname the Dirty Tap. They were there at around 2:30 AM, and then at some point during the night, Janine's handbag went missing. Now, there is footage of this mishap happening. I believe it was left on a sort of a table or something, and a bouncer just sort of moved it to a different area because he didn't know whose it was. And they'd been there about an hour and a half at this point, and it caused a lot of friction between her and her friends, because obviously she's really upset that she's lost her bag. Her keys, her everything, money, ID, everything was in that bag. And so now she didn't have it anymore. It caused a lot of friction, especially with alcohol being involved between them all. And so there's a lot of CCTV of that night outside the club and things, and you can see them all arguing and discussing this bag and things like that, and just the tension that it caused. At one point on this CCTV, you see Janine come out and she kisses this man outside. They have a discussion before this man gets into a taxi, but you can actually quite clearly hear him saying to Janine, "You promise." So it's like people have made that assumed that means that maybe she has told him that she'll meet up with him later, or she'll text him, or something along those lines, for him to be like, "Well, you promise?" And she's like, "Yes." So he gets in the taxi and off he goes home, presumably. And Janine, once more, is arguing with her friends. She's really frustrated about this bag, which obviously you would be. You would be annoyed, especially alcohol amplifies everything. And so she literally had her whole life in that bag, and she was out on the lash, and now she couldn't even get home. And of course you would be devastated about that. I would be. It would be awful. She then goes on to tell her friends that she's going to go and have a drink at the Ox Hotel.
I'm getting more drinks. If I get the Ox, I'm getting more drinks. I'll bet.
Which apparently is only a 5-minute walk away from where she was from the dirty tab.
I got him, George. I got you.
She is then seen on some very grainy CCTV that is very blurry and very hard to distinguish at 3:52 a.m. and she gets into a car. The car is a very small car, and it is assumed that this car was red, and Janine was never seen again. Now, apparently 20 minutes before Janine got into that car and just vanished, a woman named Lynette Boland, who was 41 at the time, actually was near the tavern when she was approached by somebody in a red car trying to get her to get in this car. It obviously frightened the life out of her, and she ran to the closest service station to just get out of there and ended up calling the police and giving the description to them. The description of the car given by Lynette actually matched the description of witnesses that was given of the car of the one that Janine got into. So obviously the police were investigating, they look into everything that they can, but they don't find very much, and then what they do find seems to like go missing. So apparently there was this knife found nearby this drive of a nursing home. It apparently had blood and hair on it, and it was handed into the police. The police sent it off for testing, but then apparently it went missing. Now, I'm not saying that this has anything to do with Janine's case, because it might not, you know, but if it did, that could have been a vital piece of evidence, and it's just vanished. And so that frustrated a lot of people in case it was connected to a case. Again, we actually don't know, because nobody knows what happened to this knife. Never managed to get to the testing stage. But just imagine if it was. Like, how that could have had DNA on it, that could have had fingerprints on it, and it could have, if it was connected, could have led somewhere. But it was just gone. The police started looking into red cars in the area that were small. They had a list of like 7,500 of them. They did everything they could to try and reduce this list, and slowly they did. They began piling a persons of interest list, and they were just doing everything they could to try and find Janine. And then you've got people of Brathurst who are terrified, you know. There's literally someone trying to get somebody in a car. 20 minutes later, a woman goes missing who has gotten into a car, and this person has yet to be found. They were still out there, and so, rightly so, they were terrified. Nobody knows what happened to Janine to this day. There are obviously facts and theories on the case. A lot of people, including her family, do believe that it was somebody she actually knew in that car, because her family were adamant that Janine would have never ever in a billion years gotten into a car with a stranger. It is not something she has ever done or ever would do. So therefore you're thinking, well, she must have known them. But then you've got the other side where people honestly do believe that she did not know them. That she was in a very vulnerable position at that point. She was obviously drunk, and alcohol had a massive factor in it, and sometimes your inhibitions just go out the window. She had lost her keys to her house, and she was on her way to the next bar. Maybe this person pulled over, tried to get her in the car saying that they would help her or something. Or even that they had seen her bag. Literally anything. They could have just tried to say anything to get her in that car, and maybe they were successful. They apparently did a coroner's inquest in 2009, and in that they determined that Janine was deceased. But again, it's just theories at this point, because they have no body, they have no cause of death, they have no nothing. They just believe that because, you know, her social security number, her nothing has been used ever since she went missing, that she was most likely no longer alive. In March of 2019, the government increased its reward to $1 million for any information on her disappearance. And then as early as March 2021, police believe that there might have been like a new twist in the case. and that they believe that she actually did know her killer. Now, there was CCTV footage released in bits at the time, but it was never fully released in all its entirety with the audio, and literally just everything they had was just never fully released until then. And in the CCTV footage, the police tried to piece together her movements and things. You see a car, you see Janine walk off up to the left corner, you see a car, the lights drive past, and then it looks like this car does a U-turn, turns around after having probably spotted Janine, and then pulls over next to her. But there's actually 26 seconds where she is stood there before she gets in that car. Now, that is why the police really do believe that Janine was taken by a stranger, because it took her 26 seconds to get in. Maybe this person had pulled up, was trying to convince her to get in. Again, she was vulnerable. She was under the influence of alcohol. She had lost all of her belongings, and that possibly she got in not knowing what else to do. So the big question remains, did she know this person or did she not? We may never know. Her family are adamant that she would have never gotten into the car with a stranger. And you know who would? You would hope that your family member would not get into the car with a stranger. But then it begs the question as to why she stood there for half a minute before she got in. You would hope that it would never happen, but unfortunately it actually does happen. And people do get in cars with strangers. I'm not saying that Janine did, because again, we do not know. I do not know. But these things do happen. The one thing that we do know though is that her family will never stop searching for her. And they won't stop searching for answers. They created a Facebook account called a Facebook page, called Find Janine Vaughn. And they say that more information has been given to them, that say the police didn't interview people at the time, and those people have now come forward with information like 19 years later, and they still believe that more people know more than they're letting on, and they are pressing for those people to come forward. And so they're just really hopeful that something comes of all this. And obviously so am I. My heart truly goes out to them. They lost somebody. She was literally on a night out and she just vanished, and it's just so scary and so horrific. I just pray that more information does come out and that they find out what happened to Janine. But yeah, that is the end of the case. If you have enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the case of Janine Vaughn. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.